For a lot of folks, when they first get involved with the craft, the lure of all of the nifty tools used by witches and other magical type folks is one of the many appeals. It is certainly a rabbit warren that many of us explore with delight. Today, I am going to share with you about a tool that you have almost certainly never heard of. um, because it probably was not introduced in any book or social media post that you would have seen. And it is called the witch's glove. Here come I to call your voice. Like I so often do, I feel like I should provide a little disclaimer here at the top of our discussion. The glove is not a very common tool among witches, not even among traditional or folkloric witches like myself. In fact, I've only ever seen it directly discussed in the tradition where I was trained and now in the tradition that I teach. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist elsewhere, just that it's very rare. A little secret that I will share with you. My teacher didn't actually call this tool a glove. She just called it a hand. It was Natalie and I who dubbed this tool the witch's glove. So when I say that you're probably not going to have heard of it by that name or have heard of it in quite that way, I mean that it's because my ex-partner and I were the ones who named it that in the early 2010s. So the only references you're likely to find originate back to me and Natalie. But that doesn't mean that it is not a valid tool that has been in use by many magical practitioners for a much longer period of time. It just means that it was something that was more part of oral and practical tradition and not necessarily something that was being written about. Okay, so enough prelude, let's get into it. The witch's glove is a hand-shaped device that acts as something of a personal heraldic device or symbol. It is both a banner and a shield of sorts. So you can use any material that you like as the base for the glove. My first glove was a fabric banner, so it was kind of a two-dimensional object. I chose fabrics that had meaning for me, which was really easy since I was also doing a lot of costume design and construction as part of my theater teacher gig at the time. In fact, two of the fabrics that I used were remnants from Titania and Oberon's costumes in a 2001 production of A Midsummer Night's Dream that I was directing, which is really significant for me, was then, is now, because of the, fairy king and queen, the queen of Elfhame and the fairy king connotations that are in there. So I used those fabrics, and then I traced my own hand onto a piece of felt, which I attached to the background fabric. I personally really like including something of my own measure, like tracing my physical hand in my tools wherever I can. And I mentioned this idea in a video about making witches ladders too, which I'll pop that link down into the link spot down below. Other ideas for materials to build your glove might include a wooden plaque or a shield if you want something that's more like that heraldic device on a flat surface, a jewelry display hand, an artist model with articulating fingers, or even a leather glove or a velvet glove, a satin glove that you could actually wear on your hand. Whatever materials that you choose should have some kind of meaning for you, and I think that that's true for every piece of a witch's toolkit. Whatever tools you make, find, buy, or otherwise use and incorporate, they should have meaning for you in some way. Each individual tool is empowered even further when all of the elements of its design or construction were contemplated by the witch whose tool it is. Now, I know that that can be kind of a rabbit hole to go down, and it if it is the kind of thing, if that piece of information is the kind of thing that paralyzes you and keeps you from doing anything, because now you have all these pieces to contemplate it, forget everything I just said and just use something because it is better that you do something than that you get stuck in analysis paralysis. But if you are able to incorporate thoughtful elements, then the entire composition of the tool becomes a sort of spell in its own right, and its construction becomes a ritual. The things most people notice on the witch's glove, though, are going to be the symbols that have been incorporated into the design. So the base is important, and the symbols are important. This part actually becomes really difficult to describe since the varieties are so numerous in terms of those symbols that could be incorporated. The symbols are personal for the witch whose glove it is, as is their position and even the color that is being used for those symbols. So the process usually starts with a series of meditations about your most impactful personal symbols. These can be almost anything. Animals, trees, plants, runes, alchemical symbols, sigils, so on, right? The list goes on and on and on. Consulting dream or symbol dictionaries at this stage can be helpful, but I wouldn't get hung up on their definitions, somebody else's definitions of what these symbols mean. Use them for inspiration, use them for getting started, but spend time discerning what symbols mean to you, what those symbols mean to you. That is so important. One of the things that I really, really recommend every witch do is to create their own symbol lexicon. Start figuring out what the recurring images and symbols that show up in your dreams, in your life, in your imagining, what those mean to you. After all, and I've said this before, a snake can mean so many things. Transformation, kundalini energy, threat, noodle boops. We're all somewhat subject to more than one cultural understanding of a symbol, and even more so to our personal histories and our personal attachments to these symbols. So spend as much time as you can spare to drill down on these symbols and their meanings. And remember that colors and textures and media can also do some really heavy lifting in terms of conveying meaning. But again, figure out what they mean to you. How do they operate on your psyche? If you find a resource, this is a big warning here. If you find a resource out there somewhere in the ether that says red or blue or green or wood or stone, or this stone means X, Y, or Z thing symbolically, but it doesn't give you a reference of a cultural tradition or some other source for that meaning, then that meaning is meaningless. Truly. Burn that book. Unsubscribe from that creator. They are just regurgitating the shiny crap that's been floating around for decades. Shiny crap with no basis in real magic. I'm so sorry. It's like a dizzying height up here on this soapbox. Let me just climb back down. Maybe this is a good time to let promo Lorelei do her thing. Give me an L. L. Give me an A. Give me a break, lady. Your name is like 45 letters long and impossible to spell correctly. What do you want? Oh, well, I just wanted to tell you about sponsorship options on Team Lorelei. Well, let's just do that then. I'm not really here for this spelling-based pep rally. Sure, okay. So Team Lorelei is free to join and is basically my personal solution to the email newsletter conundrum. I'm sorry, what conundrum? The conundrum of me really disliking email newsletters. I don't like getting them. I don't like sending them. Patooey, I hate them. Okay, that seems like a bigger reaction than it deserves. No, it isn't. Why not just use Patreon? Honestly, I didn't love that platform as either a patron or as a creator. So I did my own thing directly on my own website. I use Team Lorelei a lot like a Patreon account, but I have more control over the parts that matter to me. And like Patreon, there are levels of membership. The basic one is free and gives members access to exclusive blog posts, sneak peeks into my work, and some free downloads of content like grimoire pages and chapters of upcoming books. That sounds pretty nifty. What are the other tiers or levels, and like what are the perks? Well, right now there are 3 sponsorship options for folks who want to truly become patrons and supporters of my work. Copper sponsors get access to private areas of a Team Lorelei Discord community. The Discord will be a place where I post early access to videos, private exclusive video content just for sponsors, and even host occasional voice and video chats. Sweet. I like that. What are the other levels? I'm not even done with this one. Why don't you just zip it for a minute and let me finish? As I was saying, with Copper sponsorship, which is $5 a month, you get total access to the Discord community, early access to all of the videos that I produce, exclusive videos just for sponsors, and your chosen name included on the sponsorship pages for my videos and any books that I release during the time that you are a Copper sponsor. Honey sponsors at $20 a month get all of that, plus a live monthly group video chat with me and the other honeys, a personal note, and a card at Erotidia, aka Valentine's Day, Yule, and your birthday, and inclusion in a monthly magical practice that I do for my people around things like healing, protection, and abundance, that type of thing. And then the third and final tier are the Starry sponsors at $50 a month who get everything that I've just talked about, plus handmade or hand-selected thrifted gifts at Yule and their birthdays, a monthly 30-minute one-on-one video chat with me to talk about whatever's on their mind, and monthly installments of my current works in progress, which include the Witch's Rune novel series, the Asteria Books Grimoire Project printables, the Temple of Love novel series, the Mother Hopkins resources for pagan home education, the Asteria Mystery School lessons, webinar-style courses, and just a whole lot more because, y'all, I am prolific. So basically, if I've worked on it that month, you're going to get copies of it. You can talk now. Nope, I'm speechless. Aw, thanks. Let's hear it for Team Lorelei. We're done here. And we're back. One other point that I'd like to bring up while we're talking about designing and constructing a witch's glove is about the placement of the symbols. There is a lot of symbolism in various cultures just related to the fingers, planes, valleys, mounds, and knuckles of the hand, as well as to the different joints of the fingers, as well as to what it means to use the left hand or the right hand. So diving into palmistry and various sign languages can unlock some of these meanings, and those various associations can lend additional significance to the placement of the symbols on your glove. Okay, let's say that you've spent time selecting and meditating on your symbols, materials, colors, placements, and all of the rest. You've made a glorious witch's glove. Now what? What do you do with it? That is an excellent question. My teacher emphasized the use of this tool in basically 2 ways. One was as a sort of personal heraldry, which I've mentioned, right? So she always said that it was a device that could announce who you are to, quote, those who have eyes to see. It'll look cool to anybody who sees it, but it conveys something of your essence or nature to other witches who are able to interpret some of its symbolism. They're probably not going to get all of its symbolism because, again, these symbols are specific to you. But when taken on the whole, they are expressing in symbolic language something of who you are. I'm gonna say I love the idea of going to like a witchy camping festival and seeing a variety of witches' gloves outside of tents. Um, I think that would be really cool. That is a vision that I've had. That is something that Natalie and I used to talk about. We ran only 1 year. We did 1 year an event called the Cunning Folk Festival, or the Cunning Folk Fair, I should say. And I've been wanting to bring it back as a retreat for a number of years. It is on my to-do list, and I'm hoping that maybe in 2026 I'll be able to bring that back as a small event, um, a retreat style event. Um, and I think it would be super cool to be able to have that kind of event and have people with their witches' gloves sort of displayed outside of their tents, instead of you know, a banner or a flag that says so and so's name. Just have their glove. Okay, but I digress. That actually brings us to the second thing, this idea of it being outside of the tent or outside of the doorway, um, is honestly kind of a reference to the second purpose that I was taught for the glove itself, and that is that it is a tool for protection, and especially when it's placed at the front door of a home or a business. And I was taught that the glove shares some attributes in common with the hand of Fatima and with five-pointed stars, both of which are often found on or near doors in various parts of the world, serving in this protective capacity. So they're very potent symbols of protection, and the hand can work in that way. The glove, the hand can act in that capacity. Some people don't feel comfortable putting this witchy symbol outside of their door. They feel like it's a little too personal to put right outside of their door, and I get that. So for those folks, I often suggest putting it on or near their altar or outside of their witchy temple space if they're lucky enough to have like a whole room or maybe their bedroom, wherever it is that they're doing that magical practice in. That is also a good alternative for that. So when you combine this potent natural protection that is the symbol of the hand, the five-pointed piece of human anatomy, with a design that amplifies the essence of your own personal power, boom, that is, I'm a goober. I am not cool enough to pull that off. Yeah, that's a potent and powerful and mystical tool, and a tool that you've almost certainly never heard of before. Or have you? Let me know in the comments if this is a tool that you have indeed heard of before, and even more so if it's one that you've worked with before. I would love to hear if you've used this tool, how you've used this tool, if what you've done with it or know about it is different than what I'm sharing, what traditions you've seen this in. I'm very curious because this is one that you just don't hear that much about. And so, yeah, share the details. That would be great. Um, or have you seen this out in the wilds and just weren't sure what was up with it, and now you have some insight? Oh, and if you decide to make one, if this is new and it resonates with you and you decide to make one, let me know. Make a video, tag me in it. That would be super nifty. All right, friends, that's all I have to say about this for today. So, yeah, if you found this useful, insightful, entertaining, delightful, bless me with the magic of the like button and let your witchy friends know that good stuff is happening over here at Blade and Broom. And feed those algorithm spirits by clicking like, subscribe, and the notification bell, engaging in the ancient rituals. And I will see you here soon, hopefully next week. Maybe sooner, maybe later. In the meantime, there are some other videos in the channel that you are welcome and even encouraged to check out. Go do magic. Have fun. I'll see you soon. Bye, friends.
As I do will, so